have Mr. David Geddes. David Geddes? Yes, he's a communication manager at the FSC, and he's going to be speaking to us this morning about making sound financial investments. You just heard of Mr. John talking about buying and selling shares. Check before you. Check before you. Check before you invest. It is very important. Put your hands together for Mr. Geddes.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, let me say that it is an honor and a privilege to be here at the Jamaica Stock Exchange. The relationship between the Stock Exchange and the Financial Services Commission goes back quite some time, and it has been very productive. Now, I see some of you smiling, so let me start off on this particular note. Over the years, thousands, not dollars we're talking about now, thousands of persons in Jamaica and across the world. I never didn't add that I'm also in charge of international relations at the Financial Services Commission.
I take it.
Quite okay, only because it relates to this. So thousands of persons, both in Jamaica and abroad, have invested in the stock exchange, millions, yes, but thousands have commented on how closely I resemble Mr. Bean. Yes. Thank you. Yes. So I noticed some of you smiling when I came in, and I noticed when I was coming up that, some persons were doing a little whispering and, boy. Okay. Now, a lot fewer have commented on the fact that I resemble the most Honorable Andrew Holness, but I've gotten that too. No. Given this supposed resemblance to the Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Mr. Holness, you won't mind if I speak to you about the importance of creating and maintaining prosperity, because you know that is dear and close to his heart. Now, ladies and gentlemen, making wise investments is not just about being investor savvy, it is also about listening and analyzing information. For me, the business of communication has always been dear to my heart, and I've found that it helps me in every aspect of my career. And I've done a variety of things. I've worked in the media, I've worked with the Office of Utilities Regulation, doing different things, both communication and technical areas, such as being in charge of financial and technical monitoring. I've also worked with the National Water Commission in communication, and I've also worked in technical areas like project management. But my training is really in strategic management, but communication is dear to my heart. So we must learn to be cautious and be wary and to check before we invest. Today, our communication and strategic thinking skills are oftentimes tempered by impatience and an uneducated ear for listening. Sometimes we are really waiting to speak as opposed to listening, digesting, analyzing, and then responding. We must learn to listen and digest what is being said to us before responding. Have you ever been talking to somebody and then in the midst of your, discourse with them, debate, whatever, you hear them say, "You finished yet?" Obviously, if you're finished, they would know. That just tells you that they're not really listening. And if you do it, that means you're not really listening. So this is not about just waiting for a break in the conversation to inject what you want to say. It is really about listening, looking at the person. Sometimes, your grandmother or mother used to tell you, you know, boy, look at me when I'm speaking to you, you know. And because it really shows that you are one really respecting and really paying attention to what the person is saying. Of course, the other thing is that persons used to have their response, well, I don't listen with my eyes. But in fact, you really do, because sometimes you have to see what the person is, how the person is gesticulating, or the expression on the person's face. All of that adds to the whole business of communication. So today, as we strive for prosperity, the notion of working and investing sometimes falls prey to impatience and the need to achieve goals, objectives, and financial success immediately. We no longer have that patience to say, you know, we're going to, as Zachary Harding said yesterday. I don't know if any of you were here yesterday, or this is a totally different group. Okay, so Zachary Harding from SSL Growth Equity Funds, the new group CEO, spoke about delayed gratification, meaning that it's not everything that you have to get right now. Sometimes you must put off so that you really are in a position to appreciate what it is that you want, whether it be a house, a car, whatever. You plan and budget for it. Recently, there was an upsurge in the number of unregulated investment type schemes making the rounds, particularly through social media. Loom, Blessings, Gifted, a lot of these different things with, you know, very interesting names. The Financial Services Commission was and continues to be relentless in its efforts to stamp out pyramid and Ponzi schemes and other illegal schemes which prey on our citizens. And in recent times, we have noticed that they have been targeting students, high school and tertiary level students. This is a bad signal. So we need to ensure that we teach our youth to be prepared, to be cautious, to be wary, to ensure that they check before they invest. These schemes are operated by what we call unregulated financial organizations, or UFOs, and they share many similar characteristics. Essentially, unsuspecting individuals are fooled by unscrupulous investors who promise extraordinary returns. However, these types of schemes can only offer consistent so-called profits if the number of investors continues to increase. Ponzi and pyramid schemes are self-sustaining only as long as cash outflows can be matched by monetary inflows. So in other words, you have to keep bringing in new people, and the people in there usually will have to keep putting in more money in order to pay out some profits, because there's no underlying investment model, no business plan. That is quite unlike the Jamaica Stock Exchange, which is the best performing exchange in the world. That is one of the places that you can invest your funds to create wealth, to create prosperity, and in order to plan for a better tomorrow. So sometimes you will find that these schemes may have an underlying product. And they will say, boy, if you sell this vacation, or if you sell membership, or if you sell this tea bag, whatever it is, then you give us some of the profits, and you get some, and you're inviting more persons to sell membership or to sell this product. Again, if the underlying thing is that you have to bring in persons, run in the opposite direction from it. It is usually not an investment that you want to be involved in. So how do we protect ourselves? The key to protection against investment fraud, including on the internet, is to be an educated investor. And of course, we have to utilize our knowledge. Again, check before you invest. Where do you check? How do you check? You can check the Financial Services Commission website. It has a list of licensees. You can check the stock exchange. You can call the FSC. You can email us. Our email address is inquiry, with an I, inquiry@fscjamaica.org, and we'll be more than happy to tell you whether investment is legitimate. Also, you need to ensure that the persons that you get advice from, that they are licensed and registered with the Financial Services Commission. Now, I don't care whether it's your doctor, your lawyer, your pastor, your teacher, none of them, unless they are licensed by the FSC, are supposed to be given investment advice. So bear that in mind. And of course, the old adage, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. If somebody comes, like Mr. Johnson, who had his so-called cheap phone, but I noticed that, it was very smart, and he didn't want to talk about the one on his wrist, he just spoke about the other one. But anyway, if Mr. Johnson, told you that he was going to sell either the phone or the smartwatch that he had, and he was only selling it for $50, it would tell you that something is wrong, right? I mean, it's not likely, the value of that is much more than $50 or $100. So sometimes you have to bear in mind that it may be underpriced, and if it is way underpriced, you know something is wrong. Either stolen or the underlying value doesn't exist. So, one of the hallmarks of these, I'm not saying Mr. Johnson's phone or watch is stolen. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if somebody offers you, hypothetically, yes. So one of the hallmarks of these schemes is the promise of high returns with little or no risk. Now, first off, high returns. Sometimes it's just too good to be true. Now, if somebody tells you that they are going to allow you to invest in some scheme that will give you returns of 10 and 20 and 30% a month, that is beyond unlikely. Some of the best investments are on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And you may get, like in an IPO or as the stock appreciates capital gains, you may get very good turnover, but that's not going to be every month. Your investment is turning over 100%. So when somebody tells you that, say no, is this product or service licensed and registered by the FSC? Are you licensed to sell or to give advice? Those are the things that you need to be aware of. As my executive director likes to quote his grandmother, and her quote to him was always, "Nothing can go so." Sometimes nothing can go so. You just know deep down that nothing can go so. So don't fight against that gut feeling. Check before you invest. Be very careful about intense pressure to invest right now. Boy, this opportunity is going to go away next week or it's going to go away next month. You have to invest right now. No. You want to see a business plan. You want to know what the funds are being invested in, how they are going to pay you dividends on your investment. So when it comes to putting your cash in any scheme that offers high returns, and they tell you that the returns are guaranteed, that's another no-no. Save and accept. There are some exceptions to that. I mean, like, bonds that have a particular maturity date and so on may tell you what is the interest you're going to get on your money. But by and large, there is no guarantee on your investment. And bear in mind that the more risky the investment is, it's the higher returns usually. So things that are relatively safe investments have the lowest rate of return. So when you're setting up, you remember Mr. Johnson spoke about your risk tolerance. You have to identify what your risk tolerance is. Can you afford to lose your $500, $1,000, $10,000? Can you afford to lose that? As opposed to, boy, do you really need very high returns? No. So an expert in the field of investment will guide you, question you, and understand whether your risk tolerance is high, it is low, it is moderate, medium, whatever. And based on that, they will give you advice how to invest. And that is why it is so important to speak to a licensed and registered financial analyst. Let me tell you that the losses from Cash Plus and Olint went into the billions of dollars. And the economy still has not recovered yet from that, you know. People committed suicide. People became depressed. People lost their homes, lost their vehicles, lost a lot of assets because they were being told that, look, we're investing and you can invest, and persons were encouraging other persons, friends and so to invest who had no business offering investment advice. And these persons encouraged other persons until we had, you know, this great momentum of persons investing, borrowing to invest because they heard, boy, you can get 20, 30% every month. And it was phenomenal. Of course, the bubble burst and people lost money. Always check before you invest. Now, sometimes you have this little gut feeling of, you know, that something is wrong. And, okay, I guess all the schools in here are from the corporate area? No? Okay, let's see which schools are here from the corporate area. None? Okay, which schools are here from rural Jamaica then? Well, it's either one or the other, you know. Okay. You know. Okay. Okay. Let us start another way. I am pretty sure that my, I won't say several high schools, but the two high schools that I attended, I'm sure they are not represented here. Both of them have similar colors, and that wasn't why I went there, but we had Titchfield in Portland, nobody here from Titchfield, and I had Monroe College, nobody here from Monroe either. You all didn't. I don't know how you're choosing these schools, you know. But anyway, I also know that I can make an educated guess that there are no students here from any boarding school. Yes? Yes? Okay. What boarding school is that? Huh? JSE? Is a boarding school now? Really? Okay. I remember they were a boarding school long ago. I didn't even realize they weren't currently. Okay, wonderful. Let me, folks, I'm not, folks, ladies, gentlemen, remember we're all ladies and gentlemen here, so let us stay near. Well, I want to try and say the pleasure of attending a boarding school, Monroe College. And one thing I can tell you about boarding schools that I've learned is that the food is terrible. We had a thing called chawny at Monroe, which was supposedly meat, beef of some sort, I don't know. And it was really, I'm sure it has improved now. I see one of my former schoolmates is there as the head chef now, so I'm hoping that he has certainly helped to improve it. But anyway, it was really terrible. I mean, when I said terrible. So anyway, there were strict rules against cooking, but because the food was so terrible, some of us decided that, you know, we would not abide by those rules. But of course, for everything time you don't abide by rules, you must recognize that there will be consequences. So, one Saturday night, you know, we were cooking in the geography room, and we had a really nice pot going, you know. If I remember, I mean, at that time I think I used to eat beef, so I think, you know, there was like bully beef in there, butter beans, green peas, baked beans, everything in this nice big mash, and some very big dumplings like this. It was really going well. So we cooked and we ate. I was cooking on a hot plate, and we cooked and we ate and we shared up. We were very kind in those days, you know. It was probably part of our downfall to how they found out who was cooking, but we shared up with everybody and we ate and we went to bed. And of course, somewhere down in the morning, Sunday morning, maybe about 5 o'clock, you know, there was this bell ringing and this noise and sirens and things. Of course, I thought I was dreaming. So I never forget, this guy came to me, his name was Lodenkwe, and, you know, he woke me up and he said, you know, David, boy, you're cooking in the geography room, right? So I said, well, obviously, I mean, that's how we shared up the food. I mean, where do you think the food came from? He said, well, boy, the geography room on fire. I said, yeah, right. So I'm gone back to sleep. So he wakes me up again, and he says, David, boy, they're evacuating the building. I said, yeah, right. Good, man. Look here, if you really wake me up again, we're going to have problems. So I go back to sleep. Anyway, so he didn't bother to wake me up. So, a little after maybe about something to 6 now, and I get up and I stretch and hop down, these bunk beds, hop down and walk, and looking through the window. Now, I must tell you, I was in a house called Piermont Calder. And Piermont Calder is above the geography room. So, in other words, we're cooking in the geography room. The geography room is above the physics lab. Now, how many people in here do physics? Well, you know what a Bunsen burner is, right? Okay. Well, let me tell you that for those of you that don't do physics, the physics lab has gas in there, highly flammable gas. So you can imagine what was happening here now. So anyway, so I look through the window and I see the headmaster, departed headmaster. His name was Richard Roper, and his lovely wife, Merle. I think it was Merle or Madge Merle, I think. And yeah, Merle, right? So Merle and Mr. Roper now are there with buckets and throwing water in the geography room. I'm saying, what on earth is happening? And the fire truck is there, and they're rolling out hose, and I seen all of this smoke. Of course, I forget the guy was waking me up and telling me about the fire. I mean, I said, okay, well, I couldn't be serious. So I'm looking, so anyway, so time to go get a shower, so, grab my robe, and I'm heading down. So everybody's looking at me now. So, everybody's, like, I'm the only one left in the building. So, I guess, the headmaster did the maths now. So, when it came time for chapel, we had chapel every morning, but also on Sunday morning. So, he was up at the pulpit. He was also a lay preacher, I think, So, anyway, he's there preaching, and he's saying, and the reason I'm telling you this also is that we must understand sometimes that when we want to get people to do something, there usually must be some incentive for them to do what it is that you want them to do. So Mr. Roper is there, and he is fire and brimstone, When I catch those people who were cooking in the geography room, I'm going to expel them, and da-da-da. And, I'm there saying, I wonder if that was really me that caused that fire, Well, it so happened that the hot plate had a short in it, and we rested the hot plate on, who does geography in here? You still do paper maches and those things? Okay. So we rested it on a paper mache, and you all know what a paper mache is. So, well, anyway, it's made of paper, but, so you can see what happened, the hot plate shorting and the paper, and that started the fire. So anyway, Mr. Roper says, well, I'm going to expel the students involved in this. As soon as I find out who they are, out through the gate. And then he says, would anybody now like to own up to cooking in the geography room? So I go down a little more in the seat. I said, well, I don't really see that there's any incentive here for me to own up. It's not like you say, well, if you own up now, I will treat you with a little more compassion and thing. No, you're going through the gate, so might as well he do his investigation and find out who was cooking. I mean, there's no benefit to me. So I tell you that we need to understand how we communicate with people. Because communication, remember at the beginning of the presentation, I said to you, communication is critical, and listening is critical. Analyzing is critical. Anyway, he found out who was cooking in the geography room, and we had a nice little session in his office. Of course, in those days, they firmly believed in, spare the rod, spoil the child. So no sparing of the rod. So believe you me, I could not sit down properly for maybe about a week after the incident. But there was compassion, I suppose, because we weren't suspended and we weren't expelled. And had we been expelled, I probably wouldn't be here now sharing with you these sentiments on investing. But there is another aspect to communication and another aspect to how you see your future and how you choose to invest. So, somewhere around about that time, after that time, while I was on what you may call reprieve, because having not been expelled, I was on some holiday, I think it might have been the summer break, and went home. So, while I was at home, and let me put things in context for you now, because when you're communicating, you must always understand the environment in which you're communicating. You must understand what's going to affect the person that you're speaking to. If you want the person to get the message, you have to understand how they are receiving the message, right? If you're just, I can be up here and just talking, and you have other things on your mind, or you're not even interested in this topic, and it's going to be very difficult for me to communicate with you. But if I can spark something in you that you have an interest, then it's going to be a little easier. But I still also have to understand that you're students, and how probably I'm going to communicate with you might be a little different from how I'm going to communicate with tertiary level students or persons in their 40s or so. Sometimes you have to adjust that communication. So I'm going to give you another example of communication. So I'm at home. Context again. My father died about maybe a year, 2 years before that. And as a young person, I'm probably in about fourth form, you know, I was, you know, beginning to wonder, now, how are we doing financially? You know, was there enough investments in pension, retirement, benefit, insurance, those things? You're beginning to wonder because, you know, you're also saying, boy, you know, it may affect your continued time in school, etc. Amidst all of this, while I'm in the kitchen speaking to my mother, you know, I'm saying, you know, so, okay, I want to know, you know, that everything is okay and I can go to finish school, go to university, etc. So I said to her, how is everything? How, you know, how are we, you know, how are you doing, whatever. She said, well, basically, you know, kind of okay, but finance, a problem. So, bothering me. So I'm saying, what? You know, I'm there beginning to wonder, how serious is this finance problem? I'm saying, you know, does it mean that I'm going to have to stop school? Does it mean I'm going to have to get a part-time job? What am I going to do? So, as she reflected and we were there talking, I decided to get something to drink, lemonade, and so, you know, I'm mixing it and thing, and some of the sugar fell on the counter. And she said to me, you know, David, I told you, finance. So I'm saying, a couple grains of sugar. I said, things can't be that bad. I mean, my heart started to pound now. I'm saying, I'm mixing lemonade, sugar, and just some sugar on the counter, and that's going to be a problem. I'm wondering whether I'm even getting dinner this evening. I mean, we probably don't have anything to eat, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, then I see, you know, she gets a rag and she got some insect spray and she wipe and she squirt the bacon or whatever it is on the counter. And she say, you know, these finance, boy, they're going to drive me mad. So I said, finance? She said, yes, all the ants. Well, let me tell you. You know, I mean, I had to sit down. Yeah. Because I'm there thinking, no, I'm no longer in school. I'm not getting any dinner. So you see that when, if you don't know the environment in which you're communicating, there can be a problem. Because in my mind, I wanted to know about how were we with finances? How was the money? Were we okay? You know, the house is okay. We're not losing the house. We have food. We have this. We have that. Especially having lost your father. So for me, that was what I was concerned about. I was really concerned about whether, you know, ants were in the house or whatever. I mean, you know, but that was her primary concern at that point in time, that ants. So again, it has to do with communication, right? We want to make sure that when we're communicating, we know what we're communicating, how we're communicating, what state the person is in when they are receiving your information. So, Ladies and gentlemen, what is the takeaway from this? You must check before you invest. You must understand the communication that you're receiving. You must learn to ask questions and make sure that you have a grasp of what it is that you are going to invest in. Additionally, there are things that you need to know. First of all, does anybody here know about the school's financial education program put on by the FSC? Anybody here ever heard about it? Yes. Okay, the school's financial education program is a program organized by the FSC, which targets persons that are usually around 14, 15, I think, and usually like in about a third, fourth form, if memory serves me right. And we teach persons. We roll out this along with Junior Achievement Jamaica, and we teach in the schools the different elements of budgeting, how to invest, the fact that you need to have insurance, the fact that you must have a bank account, but you must invest to create wealth. You must also have a retirement plan. And we have a saying at the FSC, it's never too early to start planning for retirement. So you must start to create wealth now, and you must also plan for your retirement, and you must ensure the assets that you get. Now, I'm going to be wrapping up shortly. I have no idea how long I've been speaking. I don't have my watch, and my phone is down there, and I don't want to be like a colleague of mine who, when they were, they're speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking, and the person realized that they had been speaking for so long. So he apologized to the audience and said, well, I'm so sorry, but I didn't bring my watch. The person said, boy, there's a calendar behind you. It's not a watch you need, it's a calendar, because days you're going on for. So I don't want to be like that. And I actually have another event to attend also. But I want to share one more event with you. Because as I said, my life has been dominated by communication. And for me, it has helped me to strategically manage everything that I do in life. As you remember, I told you earlier, my training is in strategic management, and I believe that communication is always critical. So one of the places that I worked for many years was the Office of Utilities Regulation, the OUR. And that was situated, or is situated, on the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica building. Now, it has several different offices there. I think e-learning is there, the PCJ offices, some other, the ministries are there also, Minister's Office, Minister of Energy's office, and so on. So while I worked there, I was, like listening to persons, and talking and sharing information. So one of the times I was sitting down with some of the guards, I have guards on every level of the floor, so they were telling me that there were some challenges that they were having with a Mr. Titan Kui, who I understood to be the security manager. So I knew him, but I never really interacted with him, but he seemed very stern, that kind of former military, former policeman type personality, very stern and, rigid, a bit rigid. But they felt that, there was not enough interpersonal relationships, good stakeholder building relationships there. So anyway, one day, I was in the elevator. I went into the elevator and I saw Mr. Titan Kui in the elevator. So and I went in and I said, good morning, Mr. Titan Kui. I don't know this man really, let me just put it in context. I didn't know him, I didn't know his name, whatever, but I knew his face, I knew he was a security manager. So I went and I said, good morning, Mr. Titan Kui, and he looks at me and he kind of shakes his head. Not want to be deterred, I said again, good morning, Mr. Titan Kui. So he kind of nods and, thing there and, shakes his head. So I'm saying, boy, this man really don't know anything about interpersonal relations. I'm really going to have to, have a discussion. I think we need to push this thing. So I went when I was coming off the elevator, you know, not want to be daunted by these things, I just decided that I was going to keep pushing the thing until he finally, you know, opened his mouth and said, you know, like, good morning, David, good morning, Mr. Geddes, something, you know, rather than just this, you know, thing. So anyway, so coming off the elevator, and I turned around and I said, have a good day, Mr. Titan Cree. So he looked at me again and, you know, thing there and didn't say anything, so he kind of nodded. So I went inside the OUR and I encountered this lady. She was one of the first employees. Her name is Ingrid Brown. She's the administrative supervisor. And this was one of the first employees, and she knows everybody on the building. So I was lamenting and saying to her, boy, you know, how we interact with people on this building needs a little work, and I think, you know, I'd like to make it. I don't know if this was when Mr. Patterson had his values and attitudes campaign. I don't know, you know, but for some reason I was on this high horse and said, you know, boy, we need to work with how we relate to people. I think it's critical. It fosters more productivity and everything. So, you know, Ingrid is listening, and she said, you know, so what's the problem, David? So I said, well, Mr. Titan Cree, I mean, it just seems so cold and thing. She said, who? I said, Mr. Titan Cree. She said, who is that? So I said, well, you know, he works here on the building. She said, no, David, we don't have any Mr. Titan Cree work here. Well, not to be daunted, of course, I, you know, continued to press saying that, you know, yes, man, I know he works here, man. I just left him in the elevator and thing. And she said, David, I'm telling you that there's no Mr. Titan Cree working here. So I said, yes, man. I said, you don't know a security manager? No. So she says to me, the security manager. So she said, yes. She said, Mr. Banks. So I said, no, man, Mr. Titan Cree. She said, no, Mr. Then no, she dropped down on the chair. She started to laugh, and she laughing, and I can't get out of her what is happening. So finally, when she get her breath now, she said, David, don't tell me you called him Mr. Titan Cree. I said, about 3 or 4 times. What happened? She said, David, the man's name is Mr. Banks. She said, David, because of how him pull up him pants and him tie the belt, the guards call him Mr. Titan Squeeze. Did you really call him Mr. Titan Cree? I said, yes. Well, let me tell you, I avoided Mr. Banks for the rest of the time I worked. I couldn't believe it. I was so embarrassed. But anyway, that's a name and that's communication. Sometimes people tell you all these things, and if you don't understand the language that they are speaking, you know. So you see, when them hit you, and that goes for like even when people hit you with technical information you don't understand, pause for a moment and get an understanding of what they are saying. Tell them to tell it to you in simple language so that you understand. Because I don't want any of you investing in any scheme based on somebody just telling you some fancy things and saying, you know. So don't get involved with them, Mr. Titan Cree, please. You know, because it can be very embarrassing, but it can also be very costly. Ladies and gentlemen, wonderful being here, an honor and a privilege. Check before you invest. Thank you so much for your time and attention.